All right, the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100, we look at the weekly chart, and you can see that the Nasdaq is clearly just at all-time highs, very strong, best weekly close, maybe actually of all time, right? You're clearly at highs above 19K. We get a better look. We go to something like ES. We'll go into SPY in a second as well, but you can still see great overall holds at a lot of these levels. We zoom in a little bit, you can see that we're finding a little bit of resistance, but again, we have a lot of stuff kind of coming in this week. I don't want to spend too much time on that news specifically, but we'll attack it really quick. We go over the chart and what's happening here on the schedule. You have your OPEC report on Tuesday, which I think will be pretty big, and we'll go into oil in a second. But Wednesday is the big day. You have CPI, and then you have your FOMC meeting. So I don't really know if there will be an exact decision on FOMC and full opinions until after that CPI report comes out Monday morning. I think Powell will even state that. Then PPI comes out on Thursday after that. And then on Friday, you have your Michigan expectation. So you can see, like, from Tuesday on, it's just a jam-packed day. I would really say Wednesday on, but Tuesday you get your OPEC, so we'll see. Going back into that, though, before I forget, we go into OPEC and oil, what's happening here. Again, when we look at what's happening on U.S. oil charts here, you can see you're below your 200 weekly SMA. And you had your first real close on the daily charts below this 200 SMA for the first time since 2020, which is kind of bizarre, right? January 2020. So you're getting a break, a retest back into that zone. And the question is how do we react from that point of view and kind of like do buyer step back in here? And we won't really know until that happens. So, I'm siding with the downside here on oil, but we'll have to wait and see. There's no reason to jump to any conclusions. This only just comes back into play with what's happening with the dollar and what's happening with yields because it affects the inflation reports. You're seeing the dollar and yields bounce into the end of this week based on non-farm payrolls and how those rose, but unemployment did rise as well. So again, very important what's happening here with the Fed going into Wednesday. I can only say it so many times. You have your inflation report. You already had jobs. Unemployment's back at 4%. So again, very interesting where we're at and how we're moving here. And I definitely think the yields get a very big move off of this FOMC meeting, whether to the up or to the downside. You know, that we'll have to wait and tell. I am speculating to the downside as of right now. Going into SPY for this week, we go to something like the 4-hour, give you a more, better point of view. All you're looking for it to remain bullish is holding above your previous high established here on May 23rd. You hold above that level right here around 533. You're very bullish. You can see lots of holds above this. So again, as long as you hold above this level right here, I think you're pretty bullish. You get back below that, I think things get a little bit rangy, and you don't want to focus on trading a range. You want to focus on trading the breakout. That's where you make most of your money if you all have been here for any point in time, right? Go to Qs is again here operating even more bullish in my opinion. You can see we wanted to get a retest of this 460.5 level. You never really got it, but as long as you're above that, what are you? You're bullish. You're remaining in that bullish point of view. Okay, we go to Dow and what's happening here. Dow's just operating basically in the same range. Again, Dow's the worst performing index of all. We go to something like the weekly. You zoom out, you can see you're nowhere near highs really. Well, at least you're about 1,000 points off, right? So again, you have a long way to go. This is the one that's being held on the most. Definitely the weakest of the indexes, right? If the Dow can get back above 39.1K, I'm getting pretty bullish at that point, but we need to wait and see what happens there. I still think you're heavily dependent on what's happening from these reports as well in the week. The Dow seems like the most susceptible to any of the bad news as well. So things to be considering. Now, we'll go more broad-based on the market, what's happening, but it's important that we tackle all these things. And before I go into anything, I want to make this really, really clear. I think trading into Wednesday might be difficult. I'm going to tell you right now. Into CPI and into FOMC, I could see us just ranging. I could see us not getting a breakout, lack of continuation. It just makes sense because Friday was so misleading in my opinion with what happened with non-farm payrolls rising, but unemployment also rising. So that was a big issue in my opinion. I think it caused some issues with the market as well we saw with yields. So again, we won't have clear direction until this Wednesday day, and I just want to make that really clear. Now, I'm going to show setups in the market, but it's all very dependent, too, on getting continuation and getting real breakouts if we actually get follow-through and we get, a decent report siding from, FOMC as well. So if I show a bullish point of view on something like Apple, it might be negligent if FOMC comes out terrible and the Fed is very bearish on the overall market, right? So we have to be able to use our logic and common sense. And I just want to make sure people understand that and no one's being misled in any like way here whatsoever, right? But really quick, let's go into this.
Okay, so this is probably not the first time that you've seen me talk a lot about the sponsor of today's video, Moomoo, but I haven't told you about why I decided to partner with them, and I should be transparent with what's happening there and why they're going to be a partner for the foreseeable future. So partnering with Moomoo for me has been a little bit of a game changer in what we're doing with the channel, because we like to do a lot of free content, but ultimately what we're doing with them is unlike any other trading platform. Moomoo has a super robust, user-friendly mobile platform when it comes to news, when it comes to options, their watch list, everything like that. The mobile and desktop allows me to effortlessly look through and analyze everything that I'm looking at. It's all kind of in one place, especially before executing anything. And speaking of executing, Moomoo is offering a 0 contract fee for options and only charges 50 cents when you're trading index options. So very important to know that as well. Unlike other platforms which have a similar offer, Moomoo provides me with deep analysis and unusual options activities. So instead of using other platforms, I can kind of do most of my work in one platform just like this. And this is the desktop platform, just so you can see, where I can look at unusual activity as well. If you are interested, there's never been a better time, because right now new users will get a 1.5% cash reward up to $300, or if you're just getting started, you'll get 7 free fractional shares up to $5 per if you make a qualified deposit bonus. Just go to moomoo.com. It shows you all of this. It's right there in front of you, so you can make sure you have all that understand. They want to help you kickstart your journey when it comes to investing. Check them out. The link is down below.
Okay, so number one, what we're going to do is we're going to go over CrowdStrike. This has been one of my favorite names. We zoom out here. This is the 2-hour chart, but you can see going back since basically November, he made higher lows, and you're kind of just finding resistance at this 360 range. It's not really like an ascending triangle yet, because you didn't operate here for the most part. But what I'm really looking at here is how you're operating above most of these levels. And the big thing with CrowdStrike, I don't want to compare them to NVIDIA, because they're not NVIDIA. They are not. But when it comes to cloud, they are the top dog. They are the NVIDIA of cloud. If you look at their earnings, they're destroying, they're raising guidance while everyone else is kind of getting kind of chippy. CrowdStrike remains very strong. And so as you can see, you dipped into their earnings, strong bounce with a higher low trend, got back above 340, and now you're off to the races towards 350. But one thing you didn't see, or you might not have seen if you're not following me on Twitter, which I recommend doing, my Twitter link is in the bio, so make sure you check it out. But if we go to CrowdStrike on Friday, they got added to the, or they're going to be added to the S&P 500. And so CrowdStrike got a really big boost off that, pushing them to almost 370. So they're at all-time highs now. They're right at all-time highs. This is something that I kept saying, though, guys. CrowdStrike has room to really run into 400. I hope people caught it. Another play on top of this, too, was something like ZS. And I think ZS is another great play. And something that I do want to mention with ZS is that it's a little bit of a different play than CrowdStrike, right? Now, there's a few things here with ZS. If we go to something like the daily, we zoom out, you can see, we'll come back into this here in a second, but you're well off your all-time highs at your yearly highs at 260 back from, February. So we zoom back in, you're getting a lot more value here. I did tell you guys too, when CrowdStrike reported earnings, this is like a sympathy play near 170, but now you're back at 180. You get back above the 200 weekly, 200 daily. It's off to the races at that point. But I posted this on Twitter as well. Also, too, guys, if you're interested in our indicator, our volume, our levels, everything like that, the link is down below. From Lux Algo, use code OD40 for 40% off for every first purchase. Just to let you know. But yeah. So that's where we're at right now. I like ZS a lot. I'm going into the options chain too, just to demonstrate what I'm looking at here. So going into something like CrowdStrike, you'll notice if I go for, and this was the juicy. I try to tell you guys, I did try to tell you, the 360s, they're a little bit more expensive. Don't get me wrong, but these are well in the money now. They're going to be moving like almost $30 a pop now, but that's besides the point. They're a little bit more expensive. If you want to go for something like ZS, again, it's undervalued in my opinion. You go for something like all the way to, 40 days out, a little bit longer maybe, right? A lot cheaper contracts, right? A little bit more affordable. Now, I'm not saying that expensive contracts are bad, because y'all know I love a good expensive one. Take one contract instead of 20. But again, this just gives you better opportunity, maybe less risk on the table. But I'm telling you, ZS is a monster play as well, especially if it gets above the 200 SMAs up here. Now, some of you might be like, Tyler, just a buy right now. I don't really think it's that big of a buy at this point now, because you've ran up so much. If you get above the 200 daily now at 190, at that point, it becomes a monster play. At that point, I think you have room back well above 200. So, this will be a really big test if you can get above it. You can also zoom out to the weekly here on ZS and really see, where this level comes back into play. But yeah, so monster level here. Be careful, but it still looks really good. I love the base he made down here as well. Another big name I've been mentioning is Apple. And it's like really funny that like you go on social media, and I always tell you guys, like, be careful who you follow, including me. Like, If y'all think that I'm saying something sketchy, like call me. I'll be like, Tyler, hey, you know what you said is like kind of wrong. And dude, if I'm wrong, I will come out. I'm the first one to admit it. Like if I'm wrong, but Apple's really, really, really interesting. So this is your previous 2021 highs back above 183. That's awesome in itself. Now you're coming back into this like kind of triple top level here. Very interesting. Now, the other really big point of view here is the double bottom you made, right? So let's really discuss what's happening here. If you break out of this, which is highly likely because you have your WWDC event coming out. I don't know what day it is on. Is it Tuesday? I don't even know. But you can just Google it if you need to. But Apple's interesting the fact that if they play their cards right, like we've been saying for weeks, if they just talk about AI and what they're doing with the iPhone 15 or 16 to improve sales, which China sales have already improved, which we talked about. Every single time we've dipped here has been off of China news or overall sales news getting destroyed, right? Every time we bounce is coming off of earnings typically. So when we look here, I'm just telling you, China sales are on the uptick. If they keep pushing AI and what's happening with the iPhone 16 and how they're going to make it easy for consumers, you will break out. You will. But if they push this idea of, Vision Pros and MacBooks and the same old same, dangerous. Probably get rejected. Just gonna let you know. So that's what I'm looking at this week. And if you start getting above this, I think you run like closer to 208, 212. You get a nice run out here. I can't give you Nasdaq targets as all-time highs, but you're gonna get a nice price discovery push, in my opinion. Apple's one of the only stocks that hasn't really had a price discovery push, going back to June, July 2023. So I think they are due. They look really good. I like them. They do look good. Okay. Names I'm not really interested in this week. Names like, Microsoft looks good. Don't get me wrong. Like it looks good. You're operating up here. I just don't know, guys. Like it's operating really slow at this point. You got to break above like 430 for me to get interested. Until then, I'm just not. Too much risk there. Amazon was a big play from the newsletter last week and just from our channels. You broke back above 180 and you quickly started to push. You're getting a retest of 184. If the market continues, I think you're pushing into 188.7, 188.5. So definitely be watching Amazon. Great numbers, great reports, great earnings across the board. They deserve it. They should continue moving in this direction. That is my opinion. So definitely be watching that. Absolutely love it. So yeah, Amazon does look very, very good. NVIDIA, I know a lot of you guys are going to be asking about NVIDIA. The stock split happening tomorrow. I cannot give you a direction. I really could not. So I hope it dips. I'm praying that it dips. I really desperately am. I want a dip very, very badly to buy some longer dated in the money positions. That's my personal opinion, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, I can't really give you too much of a viewpoint here. Names that I'm really liking though, ARM back above 136. Jay called this in Discord this week. You have room into your next level up here just so you can kind of see. Yeah, like into like 143, 147 up there. But ultimately, I think ARM can really start running as well because semiconductors just look so good. We look at SMH, kind of consolidating, pinching, ready to break back out. Very good looking name there as well. AVGO, you look at AVGO, again, massive ascending triangle, trying to break out. You get back above 1440. Fireworks could start exploding. So you're definitely watching and excited for all these names. But again, I go over AVGO. It's an expensive name. ARM, I keep saying this, guys. Now, again, you don't want to buy on just random pumps. You need to have your own strategy, what you're looking for. But, they're not that bad. You had a little bit of a pullback here. You ended up pushing into, like, I think, 138, 140 almost, I believe, on Friday. But anyway, so these are still interesting on the dips. I like them a lot. I'd probably get more data, though, to be honest, maybe even September's. That's what Jay traded. So be looking for ARMs as well. AVGO, though, more of the day trading viewpoint. If you get that breakout, has lots of firework potential as well there. Think SMCI with how that thing was moving before, a lot of volatility. You catch the breakout, you make a lot of money. So that's what I'm looking for with those types of plays. AMD, let's keep this really simple, guys. It's very, very simple. There's no reason to overcomplicate this whatsoever. You are trading in a clear-cut range as of right now. Your range of basically 168.5 and 164.5 back and forth. You're just pinballing. It's been one of the easiest trades ever. Your next level that you're looking for, though, is right about here. 174.7, give or take. If you get above that, I think fireworks pop off and you go crazy. But until then, you're just range trading, guys. You are. Below 164.5 is dangerous. That's your 2021 high. So yeah, you get back below that, it could get ugly. But make sure you're paying close attention to that. A lot of you guys want to know about Tesla. I think Tesla's interesting. You're flatlining. There's not really like a lot to say here. Let me really quickly show you this as well. This is the one interesting thing that I've been watching. So And I kind of prefer this as you inch down here because your 200s are just slowly moving down. But your volume POC, I think I need to go to the beginning of 2023, I think. Yeah. So if you go to the beginning of 2023, basically, till now, you're basically just sitting at your volume POC, which basically means this is where the most volume has been traded, around this 180, 175 range. If you can really start mounting back above 194, 182, give or take, I do think there's a lot of room back up, right? You can still see there's a little bit of illiquidity in the 230, right? Which is where the 200 weekly is. So that makes a great overall target. But you need to get at least above 194, like for me to get excited here. Tesla's just been getting trashed. Very bad mover. That's, I mean, 4 weeks just trading here. Like, what am I going to do with that? So again, what I'm looking at, what I'm watching, definitely interesting with the options chain, with the IV getting destroyed there, we would be watching. Another interesting name here is MBLY. I've been seeing the same pop up all over the place. It's one of those cheaper names as well. You might see on Reddit, things like that. A lot of people are focused on GameStop. I think GameStop's still an interesting play too. On the dips when IV drops, it's actually very interesting play. But I'm watching this name too to get back above the 200 SMA right here. If it can get very interesting above 33.2. Start filling your gap back into 38.6. Definitely be watching. That's one of those cheaper names, a little bit more risky. Keep it on your radar. Anyways, that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm watching. If questions, comment down below. See you guys next time. See you guys tomorrow.